Okay, so this is a guide for how to set up a Mountain Blade server on Amazon Web Services. So first, I'm going to kind of assume that you know how to set up an actual Mountain Blade server on your computer using Windows. So you're going to be going to the website, downloading the dedicated server file they have, and they want you to set it up and so forth. So once you do that, and you have a server on your computer that runs, you want to zip up that folder into something that you can always grab, and then you're going to be going to Amazon, and you're going to do basically the same thing there, with a couple of differences, of course, because it's a server. So first thing is the type of server I use currently, and this is going to keep changing as Amazon keeps putting out new stuff, is C5 instances, because they have fairly high processor speeds and up to 3.5 gigahertz boost, which should be enough for a 200-person server. And all of these would probably work. I try to go for this guy here, so I have 4 cores and 8 gigabytes of RAM, just to make sure I have enough that I'm not going to be worried about it. And these guys actually have up to 10 gigabit Ethernet as well, so you'll have plenty of bandwidth going through. So when you log into your Amazon console, you're going to see something like this. At the top, you're going to see all the various services. First, you're going to be logged in here, and you're going to see the location here. We're currently in Ohio. So when we start services and launch servers and shut down servers, it's going to be in the Ohio region. If this is incorrect, if you're looking at Northern Virginia and you have a server launched in Ohio, you won't know it's there. So you have to make sure that you know which one you're going to, and don't think that you shut down a server you didn't. So just be careful with that. Make sure you're always in the you always know which location you're setting up, and the unified billing will tell you everything. It will show you your bill from all the regions, but you don't, that's a bit delayed, by about a day or so. So if you, already racked up a day of servers that you thought were shut down, that could be a problem. So remember which, server you're in. And the service we actually want to use is called EC2. It's called Elastic Compute 2. It basically just means I want a server. So we go in here. And then, again, this website keeps changing all over the place. But as it stands right now, what we want to do is we want to launch an instance. And we're going to want it to be Windows Server, so Microsoft Windows Server 2016 base. And it's going to be a whole list. As I said earlier, the C5 is the one I use, so C5 extra large. Currently, they don't tell you the price of Ohio because it's actually too new. But on Northern Virginia, with Windows, C5 X large would have been about 35 cents an hour. So we're looking probably about 70 cents for an event. More like $1 or something if you count the other expenses. Anyway, so we select this up to 10 gigabit Ethernet. Then we're going to configure the instance details. Don't have to worry about any of this stuff. One thing you do want to do is have stop be terminate. So in the event you shut down a server but you don't actually go to the services list and shut it down, it should terminate. Don't trust it, but it should terminate and stop billing you. Whereas shutdown would still let you have total access to the server, so you're still being billed because Amazon can't give it to anyone else, but it's not physically running, but they're still billing you. So you want to terminate, which means when I'm done, when I shut down, someone else can use it. So we're going to add storage. 30 gigabytes is fine, general purpose SSD. It doesn't really matter that anyway, because as soon as you launch the server, it's going to be in RAM, so you're not even going to be using the hard drive. So it's enough for a Windows install and a little bit extra. Don't need to add any more volume. Okay, we'll do review and launch at this point. So it's going to be Windows Server 2016 base, C5 X large, 4 virtual CPUs, 8 gigabytes of RAM. EBS is the 30 gigabytes we just allocated. Security groups, we're going to want to edit. So we're going to edit security groups. We're going to create a new one just for the heck of it. Here we're going to want to add a rule because Mountain Blade runs on port 7240, as it says in this system right here. They say UDP, not TCP. I open them both just in case, even though it should never use it. And you want this to go to 0.0.0.0, which means anywhere. Anyone can do it. Yeah, new rule, UDP rule 7240. 0.0 means no restrictions on who the source is. And if you want, you can add a description like A7's server, and then A7's server, or whatever you want. And then go back to review and launch. We'll call this A7 server settings. And once you set these settings, you can go back and you just select them again. But I'm doing it kind of like a first time thing. Okay, now good. We're gonna do a launch. And it's gonna want to get us to make or use a key pair. So we're gonna create a new key pair. We're gonna call the key pair name A7 test video. And then that's gonna generate a password key for us. We want to save the file. Okay, so now it's in our downloads folder. So we're going to launch the instance. And it's now being launched. In about 4 minutes, it will be available for us. So to go there, we go to EC2. I think there's a button there as well, but instances. And here we are. I did the long way because, you know, if you don't click on that screen, you want to get there anyway, you need to know where it is. So it's services, EC2, and then instances tab. And it should be starting to run soon. This will be the public IP address of it, and so forth. Okay, now after about 4 minutes or so, it's going to be available. So if you right-click on the instance and say Get Windows Password, it's going to say the key was created with A7 test video. It's the one we created just now. And we want to select that file here. And here we go. And this is the internal key. You don't want to show anyone this, so I'm not going to be using this afterwards, even though I didn't show all of it yet. But when we do the decrypt password, it's going to pop up with the Windows admin password. It is going to be absolutely huge. So we then take this and open up remote desktop. We copy and paste this here. We can actually probably even use the IP address here as well, but I'll use this because it's copy and paste anyway. Who cares? Then we go administrator. And then we copy and paste this massive, terrible thing here. I don't click Remember Me because this is going to be a one-time session anyway. It's going to keep changing every time we start a new server. It would matter if you have one server you constantly go back to, like a web server or something. But again, the point of this is just to have it open for like 2 hours. Yes, we want to trust the certificates. So we're going to start logging in. And we are now logged into our server. And at this point, it's probably going to look very familiar to you, because it's essentially just Windows 10 Server Edition. Is Windows, Server 2016, to get the idea. So it should look fairly familiar. One thing you do want to know, though, is that the only web browser on here is Internet Explorer, and it is locked down. Like, you have to click accept for everything and then go into the internet options and stuff. It's a nightmare. So try to do stuff through remote desktop. One thing you can do, though, is if you have a folder that contains your server, if you copy, so if you do, control copy, you can do paste, and remote desktop will copy it from your desktop to the server. This will take a little while. I have a fairly good internet connection right now, so it should be fairly quick. While you're waiting for that download, you can also go here and go to firewall. because we're going to need to shut down the firewall. So the first screen you saw was security, where we open up 7240.40.0.0, which means anyone. That was the router and firewall from Amazon to the computer. Now we have to tell the computer to, once it hits the computer, let the program do its work, right? So the first one was from the network to the computer. This is within the computer, the firewall. So the inbound rules here. Sorry, this is very informal and not very well planned. Again, UDP is one you want, although I'm going to do them both. So 7240, allow the connection anywhere. A7 server. And then you add a new one here. And again, once you have this going, you can actually save firewall settings and just launch them to it. So we have one TCP, that's UDP, and one TCP, both at 7240. Now the outbound rules, same idea, we have to do the same thing. There is 7241 as well, but that's for Steam. It's not really necessary for creating a server, so I'll just do 7240. Allow the connection. Good. Good. And then port UDP 7240. Allow the connection. And now Mountain Blade can access 7240 in and out. And that's been finished downloading, so we're going to extract all here. And again, we're using a very fast computer, so it shouldn't take that long. You can actually see the performance here. It's running at 3 gigahertz right now, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and so forth. Intel Xeon Platinum. Oh, and you should also see there's 4 cores, 4 threads. Okay, so now we go in here, and if you've already set up the server to run on your home personal computer, you just click to start. But for now, we're going to do Team Deathmatch and set it up correctly. So here we're going to have the admin pass be, let's see. Let's do good admin, sure. Private pass is fine, and the server name. And then we want to set the max players to 200. 200. And the rest should be fine, so we save this. Let's just save it. I did the keyboard shortcut, but let's just save it correctly. And then when we double click server starts to run, and we should be up and running. And to verify that, you just minimize remote desktop, minimize this, and then you start Mountain Blade. And it should just be running. And here's our A7 training server, 29 ping, 200 player slots, and I'll type in the admin password. And here we are. Okay, so when you're done, if you want to shut down the server, all you need to do is close the application and it's shut down. Then you use shutdown there. And then in Amazon, you right click. It should do this already, but you should do instance date terminate. I'm not going to do that just yet because we're actually going to be running an event very soon, but you get the idea. Over time, instance date should say terminated, and at that point, you're no longer getting billed. They do round to the nearest hour, so if you go like 3 hours and 1 minute, it's, I believe, 4 hours at that point. So, yeah, there is that. Anyway, that is the premise of That is the basics of how to start up a server on Amazon. Again, it's kind of dicey because if this is not correctly terminated or you're looking in the wrong, you know, if I went over to Northern Virginia and I looked at my instances, I'm not running any because I'm not running any in Northern Virginia. I'm running them in Ohio, right? So you have to be careful of that. And that's it. Okay, so this time I actually decided to stay for the end of the training match. So I'll show you how to shut down now. So go into the server using the remote desktop as usual. Once again, shut it down as so. And then shut down the server. We'll say planned, why not? It's a Windows server, so you have to give an error code. And so if we check this, it should start to be shutting down. Although I always do the, terminate thing anyway. Yeah, it's starting to shut down. But just in case, I give it the terminate code. And then when it finally says instance state terminated, it will be done. And that's it. You will no longer be billed for them. So that's the process.